Hello everybody. We have a game with the black pieces against Guile 67. Oh no, a provisional 1156. He starts with the knight out. We can't play e5. We can play d5 though. However, I'm going to play d6, which also controls the central square, which also develops a piece, right? So it's a valid move. Now he puts a pawn in the center. And now we'll play our knight out, preventing him from putting two pawns in the direct center. So he pushes the d pawn a little further, trying to get a little more space, but it spends an entire turn and doesn't develop a piece. So we can continue our development. We could also attack this pawn now that it's on our side of the board. So a move like g6 to develop makes a lot of sense and also goes along with our peers. I'm going to play c6 however and immediately strike at the intruder on my side of the board. And now he has a choice to make. He completely ignores the threat on the pawn, which I failed to see how that makes sense. So we can definitely take this free pawn multiple ways. But I think the knight's simplest, so let's just stick with that. Now we're up a pawn, we have our win condition. We can trade down into a winning king and pawn endgame. So you see you could just chop chess down like that, so it's easier to play. He goes e4, which kicks our knight, so let's retreat to where we came from, which also happens to be for free, as it comes with a threat. We're now up a pawn, and we can just develop easily and trade. Bishop here, that's one trade forced. We always have queen a5 tactics. Okay, bishop out. Doesn't do anything. Maybe it walks into potential d5 at some point, but I don't want to mess around with pawns. Let's bring the piece out. Let's bring the knight out. Let's develop the bishop. Let's get this check peers set up. And let's just convert and win the game in the most simple, straightforward fashion of trading pieces, king and pawn endgame. So he attacks and we're more than happy to trade. So that was a waste of a turn because we were going to take either way. We now notice the location of these pieces. This is going to happen a lot in the peers, this queen, this bishop. And what we do is we want to get a knight here. That way we can just chop off the piece, right? So he's not paying attention to what we're doing, and he's starting a pawn storm. But now, we're going to get our move in for free because it hits the queen, as well as the bishop. If he wants to defend both, he has a couple of options. Let's see which one he chooses. In any case, you could take the bishop, and you're still up your pawn. So he chooses this square. And now we can definitely take the bishop. We can also potentially take the pawn. Queen takes d5. But then our knight's hanging. So let's just take the bishop to keep things super simple. Fine. Now you could still go d5 to hit the queen. And on takes, you can develop your queen. Hits the rook, forces the queen trade. If he moves the queen, he hangs the central pawn. So another very forcing move that we're going to prioritize over bishop development. You have to pick, it's like you're holding cards, right? One of them is castling. One of them is light square bishop development. One of them is dark square bishop. One of them is queen's knight. And you have to choose the exact right time to play that card. And it's not always the same. And so he takes. And I said that this is a much easier and better way to convert than just developing the dark square bishop, because now he either has to take the queen or, I mean, go queen f1, which is absurd and losing, as is the queen trade, but still better. And when he takes, you could take with the pawn, and then you have two central pawns. You could also take with the knight, but he'll likely kick it. So white goes to the side and attacks the b pawn. This also walks into an x-ray from our bishop, but most importantly, he's not noticing the undefended rook that comes with check. So this game is over. He moves his king and there's a hanging bishop behind it. However, I'm just going to go for this queen trade check, up 6 points of material, and then when he sees he can't do any of his shenanigans, he might resign. And so it might be the fastest way to victory, faster than even taking material. What? What? Okay. This guy's provisional. I wonder what his real rating is. So he's hitting the queen. We might as well just give a check so we can get the turn back. And now that we're up 15 points of material, you can do what you want. Fastest way to checkmate this guy. Long castle, because it's cool and gets the rook in the game. So the rook, the knight, and the queen should be enough. He gives us a check. Let's just take it. For fun, we take it. That knight was covering the square, so now let's just hop our knight in. See what he does. We don't need a rook. We can checkmate with just these two. We're still up 13 points of material. 13. That's a lot. And then when you see that the knight and the queen aren't coordinating, I've mentioned this in other videos, don't be afraid to just inch your way closer one square at a time. So queen in here threatens checkmate. So don't be afraid just because your queen's not going from here to here. It doesn't need to. It can go one square here, next turn here, next turn here. Like a little cockroach. And okay, so he makes one move. Makes some sense. You could just trade stuff, of course. But if we creep and crawl and he moves the bishop, yeah, because he put the rook there, he's messing up the mate. I guess if he moves the bishop here, I can't even go queen f3. That's a bummer. Okay. Fine. Whatever, I'll just take it. And I'll pre-move e6. I'll just put my bishop here. I mean, it's obviously game over. This person should resign. I'm just going to develop my bishop to c5, put my rook to d8. I don't know why he's thinking. There's literally nothing to think about. Like, what is g5? If you think about it, I have 3 pawns here. Why are you playing? What could possibly be the purpose of a move like g5? That's otherworldly. Even if you had this here, there's still nothing, right? So he makes random queen checks. You could take free pawns, you can give free checks, you can pinball around the board. It doesn't matter what you do. Okay, so he goes there, which allows us to give this interesting check, forcing his king out. Why is that good for us? Development checkmate, that's why. Let's get another game. Hopefully it's short, though. That game was ridiculous. But that's provisional for you. So we're up against Eric, a 1200. So now we're getting the serious stuff. No more, noobs. We're in the novices and the beginners. Got some beginners here. Advanced beginners. So now we're going to get a Ruy Lopez on the board. responds with bishop c5. Okay. I think I'll just castle. Standard enough. Now that my king is safe in 4 moves, I can play the rest of the game in peace. I notice his pawn might be hanging. Will he notice? He's at 1200. He should notice. Unless, theoretically, you can leave this pawn hanging and be fine, which maybe you can, I have no idea. So he goes d6, which does protect the pawn. So, now taking the knight, not so appealing. So I'm going to play c3, restrict his pieces, the standard Lopez move to prepare this. So he defends the knight, x-rays my bishop, and if I play d4, and let's say he takes, and we take, we can throw in the bishop check. I mean, it's all fine. We could also take the knight and throw this here. I'm just going to play d4. That's the move we're trying to play anyway. Even though he's hitting it 3 times, I don't think he's stopping us from playing it. So he takes with the pawn. What does this threaten? My pawn. Draw back. Undefend some squares. So let's take back. We're hitting his bishop. He can't take because he loses a piece, no matter what he takes with. So he has to go bishop somewhere. And then we have a nice center. So he goes bishop back. Hold on. What does this threaten? Nothing. Let's just develop our second knight towards the center. See what he does. If he hops the knight in, and we pin it, and he kicks us. And we take, and the queen takes. And we hop the knight in. Okay, anyway, he didn't do any of that. He develops his knight here because he doesn't want us to kick it at some point. But that's a less effective developing move for sure. A bit suspicious. Bishop g5 pinning it. h6, we hit, we drop back. Although if he goes here, 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 we hang the pawn. A bit sus. And at what point are we pushing e5 here? Smashing through the center. Should he take? We could push, potentially. We could also capture. Although if we captured, he can do that thing. Take, push. Okay, so I guess we would have to, if we push and he takes, we would push past, kicking his knight around. He would definitely jump in the center. Take with check. What's the point of all of that? I don't really see a point. So I just want to develop my rook. Protect my central pawn. I'll delay this bishop development a little longer till I'm a little more sure about h6, g5 ideas. Maybe when he's castled. That way, all that stuff's way uglier. And I could maybe even sack for those 2 pawns. So, but if I'm going to do that, I'd rather him be castled. So I might as well move my rook to where I want it anyway. And my position looks great. Both of my knights in their squares, both pawns, bishop out. I mean, this is just like the picture perfect chess they teach you. But that doesn't mean you don't need to calculate or consider your opponent's moves or anything like that. Chess is a pretty hard game and you have to pay attention to all the variables at all times, so it can be quite taxing. So he does just castle. Interesting. I'm gonna go here. Even if he goes h6, I can always go back on this diagonal and I'll have provoked the weakening move. But maybe I'll try to get him to do this. I'm not sure. Do I sack? It's probably, no, it's definitely not good, but I think I could beat him if I do it. I mean, I know I could beat him if I do it, but I don't think it's good. Objectively. Because here, I take with the bishop, he takes. I take with the knight, but I undefend the center as well. So when he takes this pawn, I don't know, some trades happen, and then queen h5. I thought he could get to the diagonal in time, but maybe he can't. Maybe that's just checkmate. Maybe it does work. Either way, he doesn't play it. He goes f6, which I guess breaks the pin, but creates light square weaknesses around the king. So I'm much more suspicious than before. So now I'm going to relocate this bishop off of this diagonal for free. Now he doesn't have the x-ray pressure, and also this diagonal is super weak because he played f6. So he has to move his king, and now my bishop's hanging. So he goes to the side. My bishop is hanging, yes. Now going here is a little weird because f6 kind of blunts your diagonal. So I'm thinking here or here. I'm just going to go to e3 and lend the center some support. Also, the bishop's no longer in harm's way. My center looks very nice, well defended. We provoked in ugly f6 and we have more space, better pieces. White's better. White's not completely winning or crushing, but white's better. And you'd rather be white 10 games out of 10 here. And so, there's various ways to go about it, I guess. You can play moves like a3, restricting his knight. You can play moves like a4, trying to maybe one day hunt the bishop, but... Okay, so now he goes f5, a second move with the f-pawn. So if you want, you can go back. Because if he plays h6 there, he's really weakening his light squares around the king. Okay, so now he made a nice weak g5 square for our pieces. This knight can potentially cause a lot of harm in conjunction with the bishop. Is he threatening anything? Is he threatening this? We don't want to take unless we have a tactic, because that opens up his pieces. So I don't think taking's good. I don't think pushing's good. I do think knight here is good, because queen h5 comes next. And this is the idea I was looking at before. In the h6 g5, bishop takes, h takes, knight takes. He does something, we go queen h5. Okay, so now what did he take? He takes the central pawn and completely ignores the exchange and the threats. But the secret threat was queen h5, not the exchange. So after queen h5, we're threatening checkmate in 1. He can go and develop the bishop. He just resigns. Thank you. I didn't feel like calculating anymore. But yeah, we were crushing there. At that point, we were just killing his king. I was just trying to find a cool sequence. Oof. Okay. Uh, is it done or what? Okay, so anyway, we play just standard moves. We have a regular position. You can call it a Ruy Lopez. You can just call it development and castling, because that's what it is. And now we play C3, which is center and development. D4, which is center, development for free. Standard stuff. He takes force move, development, center, and development because it opens up the knight, importantly. He goes back, development and center. Development and center. We're not doing anything crazy. Development and center because it affects the center. The knight's pinned. Now I'm curious if he goes h6 and we go back and he goes g5. The sack is the best, but they're doing it the other way. Okay, so you could bishop sack for equality, which is what I was looking at. I was looking at queen h5 next, but I didn't know how he could defend. Oh, they're saying just kick the knight. The only move, it's +5 for white, completely crushing, checkmating. He has to play f6, which I guess you find by process of elimination. We throw in this check. He has to do something with his king, and then we go for the material. But this is still only equal because he trades. And now we have a pawn hanging. His king's loose, but it's a complicated position. However, if you sack with the knight, this is plus 0.8, almost a pawn. But why would this be a pawn? Because now when he... Oh, I guess you just... Yeah, it's not obvious. You would have to definitely do some engine calculation there. But in any case, we just develop... Turn off the lines and center. Normal move, right? f6, not as bad as I guess I thought it would be. I guess it's playable for black. The best move... Okay, we threw in the check, but yeah, this was the best square for the bishop on e3, which is nice. So we throw in this check just because I didn't like this x-ray pressure. If you ever, like let's say I ever push and he takes, it defends the bishop backwards, so it's that weird tactic I don't want to deal with. So I move my bishop on this weakened diagonal where my knight can coordinate. And he moves his king. And now we go to the best square. And now he plays f5. Computer says the most accurate way to punish this is to play d5. That just looks so wrong on so many levels. The second you push d5, you give him a free trade if he wants it. You're giving his knight a central square. You're blocking your bishop. Your knight can't jump there. He can jump to the side and hit your bishop. What's the purpose? It has to be a forcing thing. So if I go here and he jumps to the center and I take and he takes, it's my turn. If I take his bishop, okay, it's my turn. Why would I take this pawn? So I can win the central pawn? That's crazy. That's too much for me. I'd almost rather be black. Okay, so he goes here, and we don't play that really weird move because positionally it looks very wrong, but maybe if you can calculate all the way down, it's fine. And they like, you see, I tried to take advantage of the g5 square, the newly created weakness. And knight g5 is, one of the top moves, but the most accurate is bishop g5, the best move, they're saying. And it utilizes the same square, keeps a pin, which is extremely uncomfortable. H6, 95. So it's some fanciness again. Engine always wants to be so fancy, because it can be, because it's always right with its calculation. But we just hop the knight in like a normal person. And when you do this as a human, you see how this looks like a problem? See how this looks like a problem? This looks like a problem. Sacrificing might be a problem because that's checkmate. Wait, I didn't even think about that in the game. Takes. Wait, so he has to stop that. I didn't even look at that. The engine's not recommending it. I just came up with it right now, but. So he would have to stop the queen from coming here. So he has to play queen e8. Oh, crazy stuff. But he took this pawn. Okay, so here, as of this moment, it's an even game, which is kind of crazy. I mean, it's not that crazy because he has a lot of pressure on our center in tons of ways. His position's not actually that bad. But I would have thought that white was slightly better. And you would have been if you played the correct continuation, but apparently this knight move is just equal. But I would definitely rather be white here, and I would be very scared if I was black. And this is why. The second he takes it, it goes from equal to +3. And I was looking at some moves, queen h5 and stuff, but not, yeah, knight h7 immediately just wins. He can't take because of checkmate, so he has to do something else. And what are the chances if he even finds best move? Rook f5. You just repeat the position, but now the square is open for your queen. Devastation. Really cool. See, this is why I like these speedruns with new openings, because I don't play them, so I learn as I go. It makes me better at chess, so this is a long video. Goodbye.